Thank you, ladies. Thank you very, very much. Now, we're going to skip a few hours, but first, we want a little more information on the town, kind of the scientific town. So, I've asked Professor Willard of our state university to come sketch a few details in the past history here. Is Professor Willard here? May I introduce Professor Willard of our state university? A few brief notes, Professor. Unfortunately, our time is limited.
Rover's Corner. Let me see. Rover's Corner lies on the old Pleistocene granite of the Appalachian Range. I may say it's one of the oldest lands in the world. We're very proud of that. The shelf of Devonian basalt crosses it with vestiges of the Mesozoic shale. There's some sandstones outcroppings, but that's all more recent. 200, 300 million years old. Some highly interesting fossils have been found. I may say unique fossils. 2 miles out of town in Silent Speckless cow pasture. They can be seen in the museum of our university at any time. That is, at any reasonable time. Shall I read some of Professor Hubert's notes on the meteorological situation, mean precipitation, etc.?
Afraid we don't have time for that, Professor. Perhaps we may have a few words on the history of man here.
Yes. Anthropological data. Early Meridian stock. Cotohachi tribe. No evidence before the 10th century of this era. Now entirely disappeared. Possible traces in 3 families. Migration towards the end of the 17th century of the English brachiocephalic blue-eyed stock. For the most part. Since then, some Slavic Mediterranean...
And the population, Professor.
Within the town's limits, 2,640. Oh, indeed. The population at the moment is 2,642. The postal district brings in 507 more, which makes the total of 3,149. Mortality and birth rate constant by McPherson's gauge, 6.032.
Thank you very much, Professor. We're very much obliged to you.
Not at all, sir. Not at all.
And now, for the political and social report, Editor Webb. Mr. Webb?
He'll be out in a minute if he just cut his hair while he was eating an apple.
Oh.
Charles, everyone's waiting.
Mr. Webb's editor and publisher of the Golden Smyrna Sentinel, our town's paper.
Well, I don't have to tell you we're run here by a board of selectmen. All males vote at the age of 21. Women vote indirect. We're lower middle class, sprinkling up professional men, 10% illiterate laborers. Politically, we're 86% Republicans, 6% Democrats, 4% Socialists, rest indifferent. Religiously, we're 85% Protestant, 12% Catholic, rest indifferent.
Have you any comments, Mr. Webb?
Very ordinary town, if you ask me. A little better behaved than most, probably a lot good. But our young people seem to like it well enough. 90% of them graduating from high school settled down right here to live, even after they've been away to college.
Now, is there anyone in the audience who will care to ask Editor Webb a question?
Is there much drinking in Grover's Corners?
Well, ma'am, I don't know what you call much. Saturday nights, the farmhands meet down in the Ellery Greenhill stable in Hollerstone. We've got 1 or 2 town drunks, but they're always having horses every time the evangelist comes to town. No, ma'am, I say liquor ain't a regular thing in the home here. Except for in the medicine chest. Right good for snake bites, you know. Always was.
Is there no one in this town?
Come forward where we can hear you.
Is there no one in this town aware of social injustice and industrial inequality?
Oh, yes. Everyone is something terrible. Seems like they spend most of their time talking about who's rich and who's poor.
Then why don't they do something about it?
Well, I don't know. I guess we're all heading like everyone else rise to the top, and the lazy and quarrelsome can sink to the bottom. But it ain't easy to find. Meanwhile, we do all we can to help those that can't help themselves. And those that can, we leave them alone. Are there any other questions?
Oh, Mr. Webb, is there much culture and love of beauty in Grover's Corners?
Well, ma'am, there ain't much. Not in the sense you mean. Come to think of it, there are some girls that played the piano at high school commencement, but they ain't happy about it. No, ma'am, there isn't much culture. But maybe this is the place to tell you that we got a lot of pleasures of the kind. We like the sun coming up over the mountains in the morning. And we all notice a great deal about the birds. Pay a lot of attention to them. We watch the change in the seasons. Yes, everybody knows about them. But those other things, you're right, ma'am. There ain't much. Robinson Crusoe, and the Bible, and Handel's Largo. Yes, we all know that. And Whistler's Mother. But those are just about as far as we go.
So I thought. Thank you, Mr. Webb, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Webb. Thank you very much.